two pipes basically crushed your leg.
Yep.
400 feet underwater.
Yeah, I found out what the safe working load of my leg is. It's 25 tons. And then she had to close on our house. And she was just like, I'm closing on this big house. And, for my husband and, his two kids, I'm going to have this big house and I don't even know if I have a husband. I guess whenever I had the stroke, that's the thing that was getting me is I can't do everything. And I was just like, oh, well, fuck it. It's okay.
Yeah.
People can't do everything.
Do you feel like it's important to accept that? And that's what allows you to maybe stick with the things you can do?
Yeah. And it's just, well, what you can do it better.
Welcome to Only the Greatest Podcast. If you're feeling stuck and unsure what to do next in your fitness journey, we might be what you're looking for. My name is Philip. I own and operate OTG Fitness, which is a private personal training gym on the south side of Houston in Webster. I do this podcast every week with my best friend, Daryl. We've been friends since third grade and working out together ever since. Also joining us today will be Sean. He's the one that makes this podcast not only sound great, but look good as well. Our goal here is to help Houston make its way up the ladder of health and fitness. So if you're in the Houston area and ready to become the greatest version of yourself, be sure to like and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Danny Bal is a former deep water saturation diver and current owner of Keel Strength and Fitness. Danny's start in the fitness industry was an unconventional one that started with a major accident deep in the Gulf of Mexico. After extensive rehab of his leg, Keel was born, but it wasn't long before Danny had to overcome another life-threatening situation. In today's conversation, we learn what it takes to overcome adversity not only once, but every single day, and how it's possible for anyone to push forward and strive for happiness. Please share this powerful story and leave a comment or 5-star review on whatever platform you happen to hear this on. Danny, I don't know why we didn't do this sooner, man.
Yeah, I know. I remember whenever you were getting OTG started, and I've been meaning to. Eli came through the long distance runner, and then Christina came through too, and the physical therapist, and yeah, I was like, okay, it's my turn.
Yeah, man, let's do this thing for sure, because you definitely have such a crazy story to share, very inspiring. There's just so many things, and I've known you, for a few years, and I knew some stuff, not everything. I know that you've been into fitness your whole life. You've been into it for a long time, but years ago, you went through something that kind of got you into fitness as a career, right? And so series of what you might call unfortunate events. I'm not sure how you view it at this point in your life.
Yeah, events. We'll look at it like
okay,
that.
We'll call it events, right? And so, why don't you just kind of tell us what a backstory of yourself, who you are, how you got to where you are today, right? What got you into the fitness industry? And then I'm going to kind of ask you some questions along the way and let people hear, kind of some of the things that you've been through, and maybe let them know that it's always possible, right? It's always possible.
Yeah, it's always possible. Even whenever they tell you not, it's still possible. The mind is a powerful thing, I started out, out of high school, I went straight to dive school, and, starting out in diving, I was the youngest one, because most people that go into the dive industry tend to be older. So I was, the youngest one forever, because everybody that started around between their late 20s and early 30s. And, but I went through, did that, and, I was a green diver, and one of my buddies looked at me and he's like, "You're getting fat." And I'm just like, "Oh, that's kind of messed up," you know? Yeah. And I was like,
appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
At least he's being honest.
Yeah.
But I looked in the mirror and I was just like, damn, he's right. So I went and bought a bunch of muscle and fitness mags and, you know, mirrored what those guys ate and their training regimens and stuff like that. And, you know, I started working out and, you know, then it just kind of, you know, became, you know, life to me.
What year was this?
Oh, this was in like 97.
Okay, late 90s. Late
Yeah,
90s.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, late 90s. But I, you know, started lifting and, you know, and it's kind of funny because everybody says, well, you know, you're a diver, of course you're in shape. And I'm like, there's a small handful of us that are in shape. The rest of the guys are typical guys, you know?
Yeah, then that's what my assumption was, that to be in, and I'd like to, I know a little bit about who you are, where you come from, but not all the details. And I'd like to kind of learn myself just as much as allow other people to hear about what you've been through. But I would assume that as a saturation diver, right? That's kind of what you were. You would be in great shape because of the things that you guys have to go through and for how long you're down there underneath the water. But you said, no, you don't have to be.
Yeah. I mean, you go a month to a month and a half inside a chamber and you can't really work out. You know, I did work out, but I got, you know, frowned on by the life support technicians because I'd always drive the CO2 way high.
Can you explain why that is?
Because, well, we're breathing under supplied air or supplied gas, you know, so if you breathe a lot, then they have to change what they call the sodazorb.
So basically, you're a high oxygen user,
to
put it in layman's terms.
Yeah, pretty much.
You were the highest oxygen user of the bunch.
Yeah.
So you made their jobs harder.
Pretty much, yes.
And how long did you do that professionally?
Sat dive, I only did it for about 10 years. Diving, I did it for 16.
Okay, gotcha. And I guess that kind of leads us into the end of that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You had an event that happened that changed your life, I'm assuming.
Oh, yeah, because we were working at 420 feet of water, and I had finished cutting a pipeline, and I was de-rigging the saw, and then the crane jerked up. And whenever it jerked up, it pulled the pipeline that I just cut into another pipeline, and my leg got crushed in between them.
So you were underwater outside of the chamber.
Yeah, I was outside of the bell.
Mm-hmm. And two pipes basically crushed your leg.
Yep.
400 feet underwater.
Yeah, I found out what the safe working load of my leg is. It's 25 tons.
Okay. It could handle 25 tons.
Yes.
There we go.
Oh. Do you remember this?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I remember every second.
Oh, man. Well, I don't want to make you relive it, but I'm just curious, you know, what happens in your mind when something like that, you know, happens to you?
The first thing that happened was, you know, I was sitting there and it had just happened. And I was like, oh, did that really just happen? I was like, I can wiggle my toes. And then I was like, oh, wait a second. I was wearing a boot. And anyway, so I was like, oh, this isn't good.
So you just thought you were wiggling your toes?
Well, I guess. I don't know.
Okay.
But anyway, and then I was like, I can't breathe. I guess I'll go to sleep now. You know, they do all that talk about, you know, if you die, you get all this, my daughter being born and stuff like that. You don't.
None of that happened.
No, I was just like, yeah, I'm going to go to sleep.
And
luckily, my bell partner, they had 2 divers in the water on that specific dive, and he came over to see what had happened to me, and all he saw was a pipeline on top of me. So he came up on the crane and got me out of the mess, and I all of a sudden came to, because what had happened is whenever you pull to the max capacity of the load, it'll start paying off, or the crane will. So it started paying off, and
so it started loosening up.
Right. Yes.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not very technical, but yeah. So the weight of the pipe had pulled it to maximum, and then it started. At that point, it started loosening up, almost like allowing you to kind of creep
like
out of there.
wiggle out of the
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I was pretty much unconscious at that time. Well,
Right.
I wasn't unconscious, but I wished I was unconscious.
Yeah, and
Understandable.
You're feeling any pain at this point, or you're just kind of like trying to get your thoughts together?
Yeah, it was kind of, pull it together type thing, So, I got on my, on Mike, Mike Crum was the guy that rescued me. And I climbed onto his bailout bottle, and I was grabbing onto his hose and yanking his head down. And he was like, if you don't let go of my neck, I'm going to frickin' turn around and finish the job. I finally let go and grabbed onto his bailout, and he climbed me back, most of the way back to the bell. And he was just like, I don't have anything left, I pulled as hard as I could, and and the bellman was pulling as hard as he could, and I was just like, screw it, I'll go the rest of the way by myself. So I pulled myself back up to the clump weight and took off my bailout, and I went to come up and get in the bell, and Obergoso, the guy that was the bellman at the time, he was getting me into the bell, and all of a sudden Mike saw a bunch of blood gushing out of the bottom of my hot water suit. So he was just like, get him up in the bell and, attend to his wound, So Obergoso got me back in the bell, and we wrapped it with a towel as good as we could, and got Crumb back in the bell. And then, we did the hatch dance so that way we could get the door shut. And then, they brought the bell to the surface, and they had to lower me down from the bell because the bell was a top mounting bell. So what we'd usually do is have a ladder, and and you get down with the ladder. Well, I couldn't obviously climb down a ladder, so they put me in the block and tackle that they keep up in the bell for such situations, and lowered me down, and then got the guys were cutting my hot water suit off, and the guy the 2 guys that were tending to my leg, I just saw their eyes get the size of ping pong balls, and I was just like, your bedside manner sucks. Yeah, they were just like, and they had another chamber mounted on, and that was so that way divers could come out. Well, they had 3 divers that were desatting already. They blew them back down, and they had to swap out one of their guys with me. And luckily, one of the guys that they were blowing back down Jacob Seamer. He had been to Afghanistan with the Marines, and he'd seen blown off legs before. So they were just like, yeah, we'll let Seamer deal with it. But anyway, they blew that back down, and they transferred me over and got me in that. And then, they started the decompression for that part of the system. And they went to clean my leg out because it had all sorts of barnacles and, Lord knows what else in there, so I sat there for about 4 hours as he pulled the barnacles out of my leg. And yeah, they gave me morphine, and that shit don't work.
Not in your situation.
No.
Yeah, and so I'm just trying to make sure that I'm understanding this correctly, especially for someone listening to this. The bell is the chamber, right?
No, the chamber is separate from the bell.
Okay.
What it is the chamber is on deck. So the chamber stays on deck the whole time.
Above the water.
Above the water.
Okay.
And they pressurize you to like 400 feet.
Okay.
So that way they don't have to decompress you. You just, whenever, it's your turn to dive, you crawl up into the bell. They get a seal on the bell and the seal on the system, and then they break the bell apart. And then they drop it in the water, and then they just drop it down until the pressure equalizes, and then you can get a hatch.
Okay, and you can come out of the bell.
Mm-hmm.
So the bell is like a like a little ball that holds you guys and lowers y'all to the work site underwater.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Gotcha. And so when the accident happened, the guy that was inside of the bell knew something happened, and he went out there.
Right. No, there was another guy because we were diving 3-man bell teams.
Got it.
So me and Mike Crum were out. He was doing an inspection, and I was cutting the pipeline, and then everything turned upside down.
Right. And then it took them the amount of time or whatever to get you back in the bell.
Right.
Get you up to the chamber, to the surface, right? What's that timeline? Do you know?
It's probably about 30 minutes.
30 minutes, okay. And then you're up on the surface, and for, you said about 4 hours, they're picking stuff out of the leg.
Yeah, I was screaming my head off. I mean, and then for about 6 to 8 hours after that, I was just in convulsions because I was in shock so bad.
So that we're looking at 10 hours at that point. What, why is life flight on the way? Is
No.
Are y'all headed back to the shore? What's going on?
I was gonna ask that too. If there's like a trauma team specifically, no, there isn't. That sounds very creepy. Then that sounds scary.
I got pictures of the guy, doing surgery in a pair of board shorts and flip-flops.
Wow.
So yeah, the doctors need to be scrubbed out stuff. It's all bullshit.
So you just had no access to
No.
real medical care for how long?
5 days. That's how long it took me to decompress.
5 days?
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean to decompress? I'm not.
To decompress. So in other words, for them to take me 400 feet to the surface, they have to do it in a slow, controlled manner.
So you were underwater for 5 days.
Under pressure.
Inside of the bell.
No, inside of the chamber.
Yeah, inside of the chamber. Sorry. Yeah, trying to get all this together. But either way, it was 5 days before the chamber came out of the surface.
Yes.
And in those 5 days, what do you remember these 5 days?
Oh, yeah. There wasn't much sleeping going on because 24 hours after because what they did was they got a bunch of gauze wet and packed my leg full of it. Mm-hmm. So the tendons and the bone wouldn't dry out. So they did that, and then 24 hours had went by, and it was time for them to change out my dressing.
Sure.
And this time they were going to put a bovine skin on it, thank God, and then they'd be done with it. Well, at least until I got out.
Yeah, well, their part would be done
Right.
until you were able to get a hold of better medical care.
Yeah, exactly. But he went to rip the gauze out, and all my nerves started attaching themselves to the gauze. So he actually ripped the gauze out.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then replaced it, or
No.
no? And so you just kind of had another 4 days.
Well, no. Then they put the bovine skin on it.
Right. That's right. Yeah, they replaced it with.
Yeah.
And then the next 4 days, you're just chilling, kind of waiting. I mean, chilling's not the right word, but you're like, just, you're there, you see it. It's like, what's going through your mind? I'm sure you're thinking about your family, your job, your rest of your life.
Because me and my ex-wife now, she was closing on our house, and I was actually had taken time off so that way we could get moved in and everything. Well, they called me up and said, we need you to come out early. And I had just hired on with this company, so of course I got to take the job. So, and then I texted her, right after the accident, and I was like, this is kind of funny because the dive before, I had a grouper bite onto my hand.
Wow. Does that happen a lot?
Nah, not too much, but yeah. And, I was bleeding everywhere and got in a fuck you match with the supervisor and ended up just throwing on my hat anyway. But anyway, I came back from the bell run and I complained to my wife and, but anyway, I was like, well, the good news is I'm coming home. And she said, if you're coming home because that stupid fish bit you, don't come home. I was like, it's a little bit worse.
A little bit more complicated. A little bit more complicated.
Yeah, I was like, my leg, and I explained what happened to her. And she was a chief mate. So, she knew about my job and, a lot more than most people would. Mm-hmm. And anyway, so she was just like, okay, and I was like, they're getting ready to clean out, the cut. So, I'll text you as soon as they're through. Well, I was in shock afterwards. So there was no texting going on. And then she had to close on our house. And she was just like, I'm closing on this big house. And, for, my husband and, his 2 kids, I'm going to have this big house. And I don't even know if I have a husband.
Yeah. So your life was questionable.
Oh, yeah.
At that point. What do you, in your mind at that time, did you tell her that? Did you say like, no, there's a chance or anything like that?
No, but she
knew.
Yeah.
In your mind though, what were those chances?
They were 100% that I'd make it.
Oh, you knew.
Yeah, I was just like, God damn it.
I
thought I got my chip. I won.
Oh, man.
You were like, I know I'm going to make it, but I know it's going to probably suck a little bit. Yeah.
It's like you stubbed your toe or something, but the confidence was there.
Yeah, I was just like, God damn it.
Where does a mindset like that come from? Have you always been kind of hard-nosed, stubborn type of mindset like that? Or
yeah, I'd say so.
Do you think you developed that from something in your childhood, or is it just because you're just will to live?
Yeah, I think it has more to do with my will to live, you know,
just to kind of push through, not accept failure, type of situation. Well, during those 4 days, I'm sure you're thinking about a lot.
Yeah.
Was there any, dark side to that? I know you sound very positive now. You're kind of laughing about it. Not many people can do that.
Yeah.
Right. But if you think back to those few days, you know, was there a period of downtime where you having some conversations with yourself, trying to hype yourself up, staying positive, stuff like that?
No.
No.
Yeah, people think, oh, I had this dark stuff. Whenever I came out of that injury, I had nothing but positiveness.
Wow. I can't say that I would be confident about that in myself. That's quite a crazy thing. What about through the rehabilitation process, which I'm sure was grueling, where maybe that's where you're, thank God that you were a healthy and fit person before, right?
Well,
so
they said that I wouldn't have made it if I wasn't as healthy as I was, because, they had to cut out my lat muscle and attach that to my leg.
So you have part of a lat muscle in your leg.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that happened shortly after you came to surface. They got you sent to a hospital.
They had a helicopter. Well, I had to wait like 6 hours in order to be able to fly. So
even once you got to the surface?
Yep.
Why?
Ben's watch. If I got bent,
I'm not familiar.
If I got decompression sickness, then they'd have to press me back in. And then on top of that, I'm flying. So you're not supposed to fly. And even then, we couldn't go above a certain
altitude.
height. Yeah, altitude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like under 1,000 feet or something like that. So,
because the pressure difference is just so major, because you're going from so low to so high.
Right.
I would imagine that's crazy. I didn't even think about that.
Well, you got this. I'm assuming what would be like multiple surgeries and things like that.
Yeah, because the first surgery was whenever they removed my lat and sewed it to my leg and all that. And it took about a month before they'd send me, because I was in Louisiana. And my parents and my wife, they stayed in Louisiana the whole time.
And whole time, like how long are we talking about?
A month.
So you were in Louisiana for a month.
Yeah, for a month. And then they live flighted me and then to Houston, and then put me in an ambulance and then took me home.
And what does that process look like? You're at home, you went through all these surgeries, you have a lat in your leg. I'm assuming you don't move around that good, stuff like that.
I was doing horrible. I was really sick, and, and probably about 6-7 days into being home, I came up with 106 degree temperature. Is either 106 or 104. I don't know. But one way or the other, a little bit too much.
Yeah. He either way, it wasn't a big deal. Yeah. It was like just something I get over this thing, It got a little cold.
Yeah, a little tan going on. No big deal.
It got a little cold going on. And so how long were you bedridden, home-ridden?
Because then they took me to the emergency room, and it turned out that I had came down with, I think it was 6 infections and 4 malts.
4 what?
Malts.
What is that?
I have no idea.
Something.
Apparently, it's something you don't want in your body.
Something's bad. Something bad. Like some type
like
of
MALT.
Yes.
Malts.
Malt.
Yeah. I've not heard of that before.
Neither had I.
Okay.
All I know is that they were alive and well.
Oh my gosh! And they were. So you were back in the hospital. At this point.
Yeah. So I went into the hospital for another month, and it was absolute misery.
Well, what about it? The pain, the not being able to do anything, just the uncertainty. What?
It was the pain and nausea and everything. I mean, you come down with those infections and you're damaged goods.
Yeah, and at this point, I'm assuming that this is another month. Obviously, the accident is terrible,
Mm-hmm.
but whatever's going on mentally, like the emotion and the adrenaline and stuff like that, maybe helps a little bit. I don't know. But here in the second situation, talking about going back into the hospital, I'm assuming that one, you've already been through over a month of hell.
Oh yeah.
Right. So your fortitude is starting to trying to get tapped into. You're frustrated. You're tired.
I was more tired than frustrated. You know, I didn't have any of that stuff. You know, I saved all that for the stroke.
Okay. Yeah. We haven't even talked about which. Yeah, we'll get there. Because that's definitely a lot of questions about. You know, you went through another event, not a couple years later, right? Few years later.
4 or 5.
A few years later, you went through another event. But between which is crazy to think about. Between these two things, you start a gym, and that's kind of when we met, right? Which has been about 6 or 7 years ago. So how did you go from the guy laying in the bed, tired, not frustrated, but tired? And then next thing you know, you decide to, become a business owner, open a gym, and pursue fitness full time. Like, how did you go from mentally what's going through your head from the time where you can't do much of anything physically to, obviously now you're a trainer coaching fitness classes at a high level. Y'all did CrossFit at that time, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what does that process look like? How long did it take? What made you make that decision?
Oh man, it's kind of the same decision that I made with diving. You know, my mom was like, "Why do you want to dive? You know, you don't even like water." And I was like, "Yeah, but I like early retirement."
Okay, fair enough.
And fortunately, once I got to the Gulf and started diving, I realized it wasn't early retirement. But anyway, I stuck with it, and and then I look at the gym. My now ex-wife said, "Don't do it. It's a bad idea." And I went ahead and did it, and here I sit.
Yeah. So best piece of advice: don't listen to the women in your life. I'm just playing. That's what I heard. That's what I heard.
Exactly.
Not true
Phil,
at all.
You're gonna kill all of our female viewership now. What's going on, dude?
That's all I heard there. But so you start the gym, right? What made you want to do that?
Well, I got in because I had time to kill, because you can only go to physical therapy so many times. Mm-hmm. So I started to go to school for personal training through NASM. And then the gym that I was working out at, or it ended up being the one that I'd buy, but Mainland CrossFit, and they're the owner. They also own CrossFit Tidal Wave. He said, "Hey, do you want to come, intern for me for a while, and then you do it, for so long, and I'll get you your CrossFit Level 1 certification, and we'll bring you on board." So I was just like, "Yeah, what the hell, And I remember, having the talk with my wife, and I was like, "Don't worry, I'm not going to be a trainer or nothing, And she was like, "Okay, you're not going to be a trainer." And I was like, "Yeah, don't worry." And,
Come home tomorrow. Hey,
yeah, I'm a trainer.
Yeah, well, anyway, I decided that, this life is for me,
So at first it was just something to do.
Yeah.
Were you just trying to kill some time? I'm assuming you were bored. You started moving better, feeling better, stuff like that.
And I noticed that I needed more, as far as, supplements, nutrition, all this stuff that I hadn't been doing, but I would, I was destined to start doing it better.
Mm-hmm. I mean, thankfully you were doing something before. Again, the doctors said that if you weren't healthy, fit, had a good amount of muscle mass.
Well, because I weighed 180 pounds before I had the accident. I weighed 135 afterwards.
I see you lost over 40 pounds.
Yeah, because I couldn't eat. I'd throw it up all the time, and it was hell.
Well, a lot of the infections and stuff, I'm assuming, were maybe from the stuff in the ocean, right?
Mm-hmm.
All that stuff was inside of your body. All those barnacles and everything, like you mentioned, are all in there. So in the beginning, it was just something to do.
Yeah. And
then eventually you decided that I do enjoy this and I like it. I think I'm going to open my own.
Yeah.
And what was the beginning of that like?
Man, everybody should open up a gym at some point in time in their life, because, I got the highlights, the lowlights,
What were the highs and lows?
The highs were, going to CrossFit competitions, having my athletes podium, all that stuff. And, and then the whole thing of just having a gym and,
the ability to create a culture of success.
Yes, exactly.
And see people develop. Yeah, I completely understand. What were the lows?
You got to be with it, and I learned quickly that I didn't have what it took, and because that's why we closed down our first location, because Iron Keel Strength was on NASA 1 and 45, and I was going to close that gym down, and I was through with training, It was fun while it lasted, but, and then I, my friends, Travis Cook and Eve Cook, they were like, well, maybe if you, changed your business plan a little bit and you opened your gym 24 hours and then still did the classes, we'd go in with you.
Huh?
And Eve was like, all handled the books and all that stuff. And, and it all ended up working out really well.
She wanted it to stay. She was a member or?
No, we met them through Bay Area Rugby.
Okay.
And, and started talking to them. They lived over by me, which is over by you, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, close by. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Well, I know that the gym's not far away.
No.
So, but they always wanted a gym.
Yeah. They always wanted. And Travis, was a strong man and stuff like that. So, he had always wanted a gym, and it just
stars aligned.
Yep.
Yeah, and then so that's when the location move happened.
Yeah,
and then at around this time is when you had the stroke.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, because we opened in January, and January of, I think it was 21.
Okay.
20 or 21. I don't remember.
Something like that.
Yeah. Well, and anyway, then in August of that month, I had the stroke.
And what happened there? Like I don't know much about strokes. I know only the basics. I don't know if you know much about them. I know obviously you had
not
one.
Really, I don't.
But yeah, it sounds like you're not the type of guy to look too much into it. You're just like, hey, it happened to me. I'm gonna do what I can, and I'm not giving up, and I'm gonna fight like hell. But what happened? What was that series of events look like?
Because my wife at the time was offshore, and she had been trying to text me all morning, and I wasn't answering her texts. So my son Riley, he got a text from Bethany, And he was just like, she was like, have you seen your dad today? And he was like, no, he didn't show up for his 8:30 class this morning either. And she was like, you need to go home and check on him. And he was like, okay. And he went home and checked on me. And yeah.
You had a stroke the night before.
Yeah.
And
it's like I was conscious, but I couldn't move. I couldn't move the right side of my body. So, Riley went to get help, and he got my cousin Eli, and then another trainer we have named Chris Aston, and my parents, and they all went, and and they were like, oh, he's had a stroke. And they're like, we need to call the ambulance. And I was like, don't call the ambulance. Well, I was like, But
in your mind, you were saying no.
No.
What do you want them to do?
I don't know. Sit there and let me die, please. Will somebody let me die?
Is that what you were thinking at the time?
Yeah.
So a little different than the first accident.
Yeah. I was like, can't I just die already?
Oh my gosh.
And anyway, I went. They sent me to the, an emergency room, and then they were like, he's had a stroke. And this was whenever the pandemic was, in
full-fledged.
Yeah. So they took me into the hospital, and then I wouldn't see my parents or my wife or anyone for a month.
And I'm assuming that just makes it 10 times worse.
Oh, yeah, because I can't talk. So I'm having to relay to a nurse what my problems are and stuff like this. And it just...
How are you doing that? What's your form of communication? Just... How frustrated. Were you frustrated this time?
Oh, yeah. No, this time I was frustrated. I was just like, give me a knife or something. I'll go after my jugular. I mean, anything. Oh, God. Yeah, I was a completely different beast.
And how long were you in this state?
Well, I started recovering in the hospital, and I stayed for about a month, and then they let me go after a month. But whenever they let me go, I couldn't talk. I was in a wheelchair. And, I just, it's kind of funny because I went and got DEXA scanned before I started working out, and I was at like 28% body fat, just real lethargic, and, I had nothing going for me yet once again.
And how'd you start over at that point? Like and the first time you were using fitness as kind of something to do, you started to, get deeper into it. You open the gym and things like that. This time, you already had the gym. I guess we can talk about what happened with the gym while you were out. I'm curious of that as well. But I'm assuming you did lots of physical therapy after a stroke, right? And then after that, though, did you just kind of start working out again on your own as you could, or?
Well, really, that's what kind of pulled me back to it, was the fact that I had to train everybody.
You were the only one.
Yeah, well, there was more than just me, but still,
You were a big component.
Yes.
Yeah. So what happened when you were out during the time you were in the hospital and stuff from the stroke? Like what was going on at the gym?
Yeah. Our old trainer, Pam and Eli, took care of it.
Yeah, I'm assuming Eli. I feel like I could throw the world on that guy's shoulders.
Oh, yeah.
And he'd take care of it, no problem. He
with a smile on his face.
Oh, no doubt in my mind. And he'd probably run a marathon afterwards. So, luckily you had that guy. And Pam, you said as well. Yeah. They kind of held it up while you were out.
Yeah, and Travis and Eve helped too. So
very much a team effort. It's good that you had built a strong team of people at that point. I remember Eli telling me when you kind of got him going, I guess you had called them
Or he was visiting for
Thanksgiving. I
Yes.
knew that. I knew that. Yes, that's right. And you mentioned it to him.
Yeah.
And then he went home, loaded up the truck, and drove down with his cat.
And I was just like, and this pisses me off because I told him, get rid of the cat, get rid of the cat. And he was like, I'm not getting rid of my cat. I'm not getting rid of my
The
cat.
cat's coming too, man. It's a package deal.
And then his girlfriend moves down, and first thing he does, gets rid of the cat.
What?
Yes.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh. He cares about the girl more than you do.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, my
So
gosh.
Eli listens to the women in his life.
Yes. Oh, I remember he told me the story about the cat, and that instead of going, did he live with you at first?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Instead of going to the house, he literally came to the gym first with all of his stuff in the truck and everything, and brought the cat like in the gym, and it was just like a big ordeal, I guess. He told me about that. That's very funny.
It's funny because we were, he came into that, and I was, I had, Nick Nick.
We'll go with Nick.
And Pam, and I think Marissa was there too. And I was having everybody introduce themselves, and Eli went on this 5-minute dialogue about himself, and it sounded real professional and stuff. And then Nick was going after Eli, and Nick was like, first thing I want to say is, fuck that guy. And I was like, oh, yeah, this is starting great.
Oh, man. What a connection. What a connection we have going on here. Man, how could anyone think that of Eli, though?
You've never had to talk after him.
It's hard to...
That sounds like a tough act to follow, right?
Yeah,
there.
it is.
I couldn't think of the term.
Yeah,
I couldn't think of the term. But luckily, you had built a team of people like Eli to hold things up while you were out, right? But eventually, you did have to get back into the action,
right? And the thing was, I was still having a hard time talking. I could complete a sentence, but that was about it.
And at that point, are you like fully coaching classes back in action, or are you just kind of coming in and assisting?
At first, I just came in and assisted, and then I slowly got back. And whenever I was coaching, I had my wife with me, so she was really into fitness too. So she helped a lot.
And how were you doing yourself? You said you couldn't talk, but what about physically? Walking, moving, exercising?
I think at that time I was starting to get out of the wheelchair. So I could, kind of walk.
How long were you in a wheelchair?
Shoot, I don't even remember.
A couple months?
Yeah, probably about 3 or 4.
3 or 4 months in a wheelchair at that point. But look, if you look at you today, you're back in action. I know you're doing a little bit of different workouts than what you used to do. I remember you told me that recently, that you're not exactly doing all the same workouts that you enjoyed doing in the past, but you found a way to do what you can do. So what is that? What's it look like today? Like what do you do for yourself, workout wise, nutrition wise? What is your life like after all this stuff you've been through?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I had to go and get a nutrition trainer.
Okay.
Because I know what I need to do, but I don't hold myself accountable.
Is an accountability?
Yeah.
Bro. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Don't worry. But that helped you a lot?
Yeah. It really did.
What's the main thing that they do for you? Is it just is it checking in with them?
Checking in.
Yeah.
And then, hey, you're not supposed to drink that much.
Yeah, so that will definitely interfere with anyone's progress for sure.
Yeah.
But what as far as working out yourself these days, coaching classes and stuff like that, you seem to get around pretty well and manage. Do you see yourself to continue to progress and get better, or like what's the future outlook?
It's getting better all the time.
Really?
It really is, and everybody's like, how do you stay so positive? And I'm just like, how do you stay so negative? I mean, it's one thing to, I joke and, I'm pretty negative, but it's a joke.
Right.
Everybody knows that at the end of the day, in my head is, I'm going to fucking get this thing done.
Yeah. And for you, it's just easy that way?
No.
No.
It's hard, it's expensive, and it hurts.
What do you mean by it's expensive?
Just being me.
Yeah. In what ways, though? What do you mean?
Just being me.
Yeah. So you find things you put an expense to things, I guess, and you want to do them often, right?
Exactly.
To get through the days and things like that. What's the plans with the gym at this point now with Iron Keel? What are you thinking about? What are your plans for yourself as well?
Yeah. I'm actually working on an exit strategy, but it's still a ways off from bearing fruit.
Sure.
But I'm working on getting the gym going and self-sufficient, and then moving to Belize.
Oh yeah, you told me a little bit about this.
Yeah.
What's your goal with that? Just to go find peace, find freedom, just get away from things, or what's going?
Yeah. It's not really get away from things because there's really nothing to get away from,
Okay.
especially nowadays because, wife is gone.
Okay, yeah.
And, my daughter's out of college, my son's in the Navy, so I'm just kind of like, I can really do whatever I want right now. I've paid my debts to society, so basically, all the time that I have left is borrowed time.
Yeah, and you're gonna take best advantage of it
that's
you can. Yeah. And I'm assuming that you have like a workout and an exercise program. Do you also use a trainer for that, or do you build your own?
No, actually, Amanda Garces, that's the girl that's doing my nutrition. She puts together workouts for me, and it's all pin equipment stuff and not stuff that I particularly like.
Yeah,
but it's necessary, and especially for how I am, I had to put the brakes on what I'm doing, on the cross fitness.
Yeah.
Gotta say fitness.
No, I understand. Yeah, I understand. And do you see yourself trying to get back to some of those things?
Yes. I'm giving her about another 8 months, and then I'm just like, I got to get back to what I do and what I'm coaching people to do.
But currently, the problem is you can't physically do a lot of those things.
Right. So it's like I was at first tackling it like I'll just go and fake it till I make it, and I hit a, roadblock with that. So I had to go back a couple of notches and boring pin equipment stuff.
Yeah, you would call it boring, right? Yeah, and I'm with you. I mean, some of that stuff is boring. I'm thinking about for myself, like when I'm dealing with like a little naggy injury, which is obviously nothing compared to what you're dealing with, but sometimes you have to take a step back. And it's frustrating when I have to do it for a month. Yeah. So I could imagine. You're, 3 years post?
Yeah.
Post-event at this point. But you said it's getting better all the time, right?
Yeah. It's every day, Yeah,
you just keep.
Wake up, you're a little bit better than yesterday.
I love that. And if there's one thing that I learned from you today, it's that don't worry about what happened yesterday.
Yeah.
Just do what you can do today.
Exactly.
If something bad happens, hey, I'm going to get through this.
Yeah.
Not a big deal. I got 105 fever. My leg gets cut off. It's whatever.
God damn it. Why does yeah. It's like, hey,
little strokey stroke. It's like, it's
we're
chilling.
Little ibuprofen here, shot there.
Get a little Excedrin migraine. You're good, man. You're rocking and rolling.
Bring it on, world, dude. Bring it on, world.
That's amazing, man. It's amazing.
Yeah, it really is. I don't know if you even realize that it's amazing.
I really don't, I really don't have enough time to sit and, rest on, hey, I did it,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I did that with the last gym because, I came out of that injury and my mindset was so positive, and I could do anything. And then I got into the real world with my gym and I realized, oh, I can't do everything, and that's like, I guess whenever I had the stroke, that's the thing that was getting me is I can't do everything. And then I was just like, oh, well, fuck it. It's okay.
Yeah.
People can't do everything.
Do you feel like it's important to accept that? And that's what allows you to maybe stick with the things you can do?
Yeah. And it's just, well, what you can do it better.
That is a statement that is very powerful. If you focus on what you can do and do it the best that you can, you won't even worry about the things you can't do anymore.
Yeah,
because you're staying positive, staying confident. You're so good at the things that you do. It just kind of goes back to focus on what you're good at, stay positive, and keep trucking forward with it, So, well, man, I hope that, your exit strategy works out to the best of its abilities. You get down there to Belize as quickly as possible, and you're able to live, the lifestyle that you want, with the time that you have.
Property's bought, so it's in the making.
Yeah, dude, you're that's definitely a big part of it, I'm assuming. I mean, I've never bought land internationally before, but I'm assuming that can't be easy, huh?
Actually, right now it is, but I'm getting ready to start building, and that's where it's going to start getting
more difficult.
Yeah.
Huh. Is it just because of the communication with like the builders or
all of it?
Yeah. every issue that you could think of.
Yeah. And I'm sure I'll run into all of them, and I'm going to.
Yeah. Cause I'm just thinking about, I've never built a house before. I've done a rehab on a house before, and it's a lot of communication. So what if the person you're communicating with is thousands of miles away and maybe barely speaks your language?
Well, I lucked out because Belize, their language is English.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
is that the main reason you chose that area?
Yeah.
Any other reasons?
The price.
Yeah.
Because it's Costa Rica is already getting as expensive as Mexico is. Mm-hmm. Mexico, it's no longer that much of a, you move to Mexico and you can live on, no, it's not like that.
Okay, but in Belize, your dollar goes a long way.
Oh, yeah.
Basically. Okay. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Might have to check that out.
OTG Belize?
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah, man, dude, we got a coach. We got a coach right here.
Well, I'm probably going to open up an iron Keel in Belize.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's pretty awesome.
Is exercise like I know in a lot of countries,
Nope.
they don't really exercise.
No. Well, especially this country because it has a population of 450,000.
Pretty small.
Oh, that's a suburb of Texas.
Yeah, right.
Or of Houston.
That's of Houston, yeah. Houston's over 1 million.
Yeah.
Just by itself.
Yeah.
So what's the game plan with the gym there? How does that work?
Well, it's where I'm buying my property because I'm buying it in Holistica, which is still yet to be built. But it's basically an organic farm that they took off part of it, and they turned it into kind of like a subdivision. And they're gonna put a pool up there, a restaurant, and they're gonna do a spa, and he will have a space for a gym too.
Do you think it's going to attract international residents? Or
I hope.
Yeah, man. Well, he beat us to the punch, Sean. No OTG Belize.
Dang
There's
it.
already an iron
Dang
keel
it.
there. So we won't step on your grounds.
You can come and work for me.
Hey, perfect, dude. Count me. Hey, if me and Sean can come for the summer,
Down.
I'll coach those classes.
Yeah, and I'll
Yeah,
I'll take pictures and create around it
Yeah,
too.
dude,
So,
we'll
yeah.
help you with your socials. You know, you just give us a place to stay. Yeah, you give us a place to stay.
There
We
we go.
catch a lift a couple times a week, and we take $100 and it lasts forever. Hopefully, you know? Yeah. Well, I mean, I appreciate you coming here today, telling us about all the things you've been through. I know, again, it doesn't seem like much to you, but somebody's gonna listen to this and it's gonna help them. I promise.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is, no matter, what shape you're in shape to go work out.
Amazing.
You
yeah.
know?
I'm going to steal that one.
It's just like, and I get people and I look at myself and I'm just like, you're going to tell me?
Yeah, exactly. That's why I wanted to talk to you about these things. Because, if you can sit here and tell us about how you got on an exercise program, you hired a nutritionist to help you, you followed the plan, and you're getting better every day, there's no one that can say that they can't.
Yeah.
And, no matter where you're coming from, it doesn't matter what kind of shape you're in now, you weren't in worse shape than when Danny was laying in that chamber on his way up with barnacles in the leg, right? That's bad shape. Right, that is bad shape.
You see, and I don't really look at it like that.
Really?
Is that bad? I'm just like, well, my kidneys weren't laying next to me, so
It's just like focusing on positives. My
it
heart's
can always be worse.
Yeah,
It can
my
always be
heart's
worse.
still beating.
Yeah.
And I was like, it didn't go up far enough, so
Yeah.
Well, for sure, people have a hard time doing that, though. And hopefully by hearing that you're able to do that, and we're all the same species here.
Exactly.
We're all humans. If Danny can stay that positive, so can you, so can I, so can Sean. And
But it's funny because if you were to be like, if Danny can stay that positive, they're like, are we talking about the same Danny?
well, it's a hidden positivity, but it's in there.
It's in there.
Yeah, it's in there for sure.
Your own special brand.
Yeah, it's in Danny's own special iron keel way.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else that you want to say before we head out of here? You want to shout out Iron Keel where
Yep.
people can learn more about it?
Yep, Iron Keel Strength. You can reach us at ironkeelstrength.com. We're a 24-hour access gym that does have classes, so look us up.
Sounds good. All right, guys, we'll see y'all next time.
All right, guys. Peace.